FIFA after advancing through the group stage with little difficulty, entering what many consider to be the more preferable side of the draw, and winning their first knockout game in a major tournament since 2006, England are through to the final 8 of the World Cup. Their win against Colombia in the last 16 has earned the Three Lions a quarter-final match against Sweden, and with national optimism being at an all-time high after winning their first-ever World Cup penalty shootout, it would be easy to get carried away with thoughts of lifting the World Cup trophy already. Yet after the euphoria has faded from their latest triumph, Gareth Southgate will have looked back at the game against Colombia and recognized that the performance wasn't good enough, that his side scraped through thanks to Lady Luck finally smiling on them. If Southgate and his boys want to avoid any more scares and make it through to the semi-final and possibly further, there are some vital improvements that need to be made. Peter Powell, EPA, Corbus Raheem Sterling has now played 3 out of England's 4 games at the 2018 World Cup, having been rested against Belgium along with the majority of Southgate's preferred 11. It is fair to say that the Manchester City forward didn't enjoy any stellar performances against Tunisia, Panama, or Colombia, and though he played better against the latter, Sterling certainly left a lot to be desired. England struggled to create any real chances against the South Americans in the last 16, and while there is a valid argument that Rashford did nothing against Belgium to deserve a call into the first team, has Sterling really done anything to keep his place? It seems unfair that while Sterling has essentially been a passenger on the pitch, another talented youngster, who has only been given one chance to impress as part of a much-changed team, has had to sit and watch from the bench. It may be worth giving Rashford a chance in the starting lineup against Sweden and keep Sterling as an impact sub toward the end of the game if necessary. This may inject England with the urgency that they seem to lack against Colombia. Next, page 2. Not only is Harry Kane England's star striker, he is one of the best strikers in the world, currently leading the competition in the race for the Golden Boot. Why then did he appear to play in a midfield role for much of the game against Colombia? At times the England know. There were times when Ashley Young or Jamie Vardy would beat their man on the wing and put a ball into the box with no one there to receive it, since Kane was playing so inexplicably deep. This is somewhat understandable in extra time as all the players were exhausted, but this seemed to be happening all game long. As tempting as it is for Kane to drop deep to pick up the ball if the service is poor, he has to remember he is not the kind of player who can take on 4 or 5 players before having a shot on goal. That just isn't where his strengths lie. The captain needs to stay on the last man for when the service does come, because there is no one else in the world you would rather have in that position right now. If not, England will struggle to score goals from open play, just like they did against Colombia. Page 3. For the most part of this tournament, England have defended very well. However, silly mistakes at the back have let them down from time to time. Though the penalty awarded to Tunisia was harsh against England, the Panama goal was easily preventable, but the defense seemed to switch off. This isn't so bad when you are 6-0 up, though Southgate will not see it this way, but this simply cannot happen at 1-0. Against Colombia, Kyle Walker got caught in possession on more than one occasion, most notably on the halfway line under very little pressure. This was a mistake that Juan Cuadrado really should have punished the Man City defender for. During injury time, a breakdown in communication between Jesse Lingard and Jordan Henderson resulted in a cheap shot for Colombia out of nothing. Though this shot didn't hit the back of the net, thanks to one of the best saves of the tournament from Jordan Pickford, it did lead to the corner that gave the South Americans the equalizer. These mistakes need to be stopped if England want to advance any further in the tournament, particularly if they are struggling to create opportunities to score goals themselves. Page 4. Substitutions can often be the difference between winning and losing in football, and is one of the manager's key jobs. From the first whistle to the last whistle, any impact Southgate may have from the touchline is limited, with the exception of his subs. The manager's first substitution against Colombia came after 81 minutes, replacing Dele Alli with his Tottenham teammate Eric Dyer. This made a lot of sense since the latter had missed the previous 2 games through injury, and had been struggling before the switch. However, Alli was clearly in pain before halftime came, and should have been brought off much sooner than he was. Similarly, after 88 minutes Jamie Vardy replaced Raheem Sterling in a swap that should have happened long before it eventually did. Sterling was clearly exhausted, unable to use his pace to trouble the Colombian defense as Vardy could have. The final 2 subs came during extra time, understandably replacing Ashley Young and Kyle Walker after both seemed to pick up injuries, but had Rashford or Vardy been introduced sooner, there may have been no need for extra time in the first place. Page 5. When Eric Dyer replaced Dele Alli with 9 minutes to go against Colombia, Gareth Southgate essentially confirmed that he was happy with a 1-0 victory, and didn't want to risk going on the attack for a second goal. He could have brought on Ruben Loftus-Cheek or Fabian Delph in midfield, but instead opted for the much more defensive Dyer. This is always a dangerous game to play, as a goal can come at any time and change everything, as it did with Colombia. One mistake led to a corner, which subsequently led to a goal, practically out of nothing. By the end of extra time England were lucky to get to penalties at all, with Colombia taking the momentum that came with the last-minute equalizer and running with it. This all could have been avoided had England not settled for a 1-goal advantage and been a bit more positive toward the end of the game. Particularly true in tournament football, a 1-0 lead is never safe.